I don't know how many of you were here when we had a visit by John Burke. John is a television host, and he worked for several years with American movie classics. And now he just signed a contract with E! Entertainment. In fact, if you're any of you in the audience here, if you get home at 10 o'clock tonight, he's going to be on TV. I think it's on Home and Gardens. You ever see that? Mm-hmm. He's going to be on tonight. But he sent me an email that he's going to be, working for E! And then he's going to be doing the Golden Globe Awards in California on January 25th, which is fairly significant. And he'll be live on that show, and I would let you know the station and everything when he'll be on. But I wanted to show you was an email that I just received from John about a new show that he's doing from Home and Gardens TV. And for those of you who are here today, Sunday, as I said, it'll be on tonight at 10. And that show, I don't really know too much of what it's about, but I wanted to show you the email that he sent me because I thought it was pretty interesting. Okay, he said, I just did a show for HGTV, that's Home and Gardens TV, called Crazy for Christmas. It's about people who go overboard decorating their Christmas trees. This is on Sunday night at 10. Anyway, one story is that the newest fad is to put your Christmas tree upside down. That's the new thing. And he says, Viva la Uranus. And I thought that was pretty cute because, he's one of us as far as that's concerned. And you notice how excited he gets over that. And it makes me happy to see people connecting these types of synchronous events. I haven't heard anything about putting Christmas trees upside down. I wouldn't know how you would do that, other than if you hung it, hang it from the ceiling. But he's evidently, they're going to show that on the program tonight, and that's what they're doing, and that's a fad. And, he's heard us talking about Uranus and turning everything upside down, and so, that was the statement he made, which was pretty good. So, with all of this kind of stuff, you can kind of see even the small things, the orchestration of our lives, and Uranus does break down tradition. And in fact, this is the day for those of you who are just tuning in and getting this on tape, but this is a day in which Saddam was dug out of a hole. But let me show you, forgetting, whether you agree or disagree or who's right or who's wrong, forgetting all of that. What we're talking about is what John Burke was mentioning there, turning things upside down, viva la Uranus. And Uranus does turn things upside down. And to give you an idea, like in this country, we see the country that never in its history ever attacked anyone preemptively doing that. We did that. Never been done before in this country. And in this country, we see people being held in prison without lawyers, and that never happened. And then just a few days ago, our president and the government was standing shoulder to shoulder saluting the president of China, which is good, but warning Taiwan. Now, interesting, because the president of China is the head of a dictator of a communist country, and he's warning, our president was warning Taiwan not to irritate China. And of course, Taiwan is a democratically elected government. So it's all of it comes out to be, how it fits into your little thing, whether the person is evil or not, So looking at all of this stuff and looking at what troubles me more than anything, the involvement of religion in violence. Somebody on the internet, somebody by the name of Jerry sent me, lives locally, sent me something written by Mark Twain. And I don't know if you've ever read it. I've never read it before, but it's called Mark Twain's Savage War Prayer. And I thought I'd share it with you because it seems to fit the current situation in the world, regardless of who you blame. It is religious warfare tearing up the globe. But I wanted to show you this, and this is what Mark Twain's savage... He says, "O Lord our God," and this is written by Mark Twain, "help us to tear their soldiers to bloody shreds with our shells. Help us to cover the smiling fields with the pale forms of patriot dead. Help us drown the thunder of guns with the shrieks of their wounded. Help us wring hearts of their unoffending widows with grief. Lord, blast their hopes, blight their lives. In the spirit of love, amen." And, you know, there it is. It's basically what has gone on, well, as long as I can remember, and I'm sure as long as you can remember, where different groups, depending on what their religious persuasion is, decide to support this violent behavior and yet involve God right in the middle of it. Now, that's a very cynical statement by Mark Twain, but it's probably more true today than when Mark Twain wrote it. See? The prayers of all sides of people who do war and kill in the name of God. I mean, the people that are setting off bombs in Iraq and shooting, you know, are going to their prayers and are on the floor and going all that stuff, and our people are praying and wives are praying. And what we're doing is we're praying that our loved ones come home safe, but, you know, in order to do that, you take it for granted that you got to kill them. If somebody's going to get killed, you don't want it to be your friend or your relative. So I wanted to thank Jerry for sending that from Mark Twain along. The whole thing, regardless of your political affiliations, is turning upside down. And the planet in control of things now is Uranus, whose wildly swinging electromagnetic fields does just that. It causes chaos. I mean, you can take that. No, well, no, you don't know how to do that. Okay. You know, I could show you how to do that. Here, just follow me on the camera. I'm going to show Mary a very... Would you pick up that thing there? That's it. Now, you hit it. Now, right on here somewhere, Mary, there's a thing that says blank. Okay. And if you hit that, you can take that off. See that? She's good. But Uranus, the planet I was talking about, in control of our destinies now, and all of this wild stuff is happening. And you can't really put a label on what impact it's going to have. I know I got an email today and somebody says, "What is your take on Saddam Hussein being captured?" Well, you know, it sets in motion another set of dominoes, you know, and things fall. Everything affects something else. So now we have to wait and see what happens here. I mean, you could get a guy like Saddam Hussein wind up in a court somewhere and start naming names about all the people from the United States that gave him the money and gave him all this stuff to do all this business with. He's saying, "You know, I never had any weapons until you brought them here and gave them to me." I mean, it could get pretty wild. And if that gets to that case, then, you know, it wouldn't be unusual that somebody comes in his jail cell at night with a, you know, a pistol, and that's the end of that. I mean, we have to wait and see. But Uranus does that. And when you talk about God, and we do in churches, obviously, but we're talking about religion. We're talking about God. And we're taking a book, a Greek document, and we're using that as the source of all of our beliefs. I mean, we're coming upon a time when this story we're going to fulfill again about, you know, Jesus and the Virgin and the manger and the shepherds and all this stuff. Beautiful story, beautiful songs. It's a wonderful time. But it's all part of the same book. The baby in the manger is part of the book, and so is Uranus, because as a Greek document in the book, Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and the word heaven in Greek is Uranus. So the word could have as well said the kingdom of Uranus is at hand. Uranus is such an interesting thing and causes these types of strange events to occur where traditional things crash and like, you know, we were saying, it's just everything gets turned upside down. It's crazy. And the reason, like the other planets, the celestial bodies, their electromagnetic fields, you know, they flow like a waterfall, and everything's very predictable and very harmonic, you know, in harmony. Well, Uranus is like did you ever see a crocodile coming out of a swing? The electromagnetism from Uranus is, you know, it's all over the place. And so the effect that it has on electro people, which we are, is amazing. It actually causes changes in the electro mind that we all have. And not only does it affect things in our nation and in the world, it affects things in the house. I mean, it's just that you can't believe some of the things that happen. You know, how could this happen? What's going on? And so Uranus then comes along and is having this tremendous effect, and we all look around and we see what's happened. I mean, I think the real impact of it in our particular lives as people, you know, alive today, we really started to see it when the Soviet Union collapsed in a matter of a couple of days. I mean, it was a few days, and the whole thing, this iron curtain and all of this business, it crashed in a matter of a couple of days. Well, it's been happening ever since, and as I said, now you have the United States that was always, will never fire the first shot, will defend, and all of this stuff, and we're attacking. And, you know, everybody, now you've got people in prisons in this country and not allowed to see lawyers and all this kind of crazy stuff. Well, you look and you might get politically involved, say, oh, we got to vote for so-and-so, but, you know, that doesn't really, it doesn't really, in the long run, change anything, especially when you have an invisible activity that's causing this to occur. Say, and basically, that's what's going on. So the whole thing is really turning upside down, and the planet that is, you know, pouring down these electrical charges on us is Uranus. I wanted to share another email with you. And I am receiving many emails now, and the emails that I'm receiving are very complimentary. And I want to share you one that it says, you know, this Bill, I love you. I mean, that is, Joan, that Bill, I love you. I never met this person. You know, it's not that kind of the love thing. You are a genius. That's not bad, Mayor. I'll buy that. Thank you so much for your wisdom. As a child, 8 to 9, I was never able to tolerate any of the church's deliberations. Me too. Same thing. My reaction, according to my mother, was that the sermons were blasphemous nonsense. Yes. I was also uncomfortable with Islam and its practices. Absolutely. So I left all of this behind and began to seek a less confined and defined God, a God of pure love, a God of freedom, a God that inspires you to nurture rather than to destroy, a God who causes tears to flow out of love and compassion, a God who makes you desire to care for others as you would yourself. And after 40 years of searching, I reached a place of love and understanding, and surprisingly, I also became aware of nothing. It was as though I was simply basking in an awareness of pure love with no definition, no boundaries. Your articles have done much to move me from chaos to calm and understanding. I am so comfortable with your explanations, it's almost as though they conform with the information somewhere in my subconscious. you know, I thought she really summed it up, and I was really pleased. And for whatever reason, you know, I do get some things that aren't so nice, but more and more we're getting emails from people that are like that. And it really does make me feel good that people are beginning to get the point of becoming aware of nothing in order to be enlightened and reunited with everything. And so I had that. There was another one that somebody in New York wrote me, and I thought that this was good too. One of the best clear and concise websites in Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri is, you know, the entire universe practically. And so I thought, you know, that was good. Now, I'm not here. What I'm trying to share this with you for is the fact that there are many, many, many people from all over the country and all over the world who are taking a positive view to what is going on here, to what we're doing. And, you know, I know it makes me feel very encouraged, and I hope it would too. There was one from a person named Laura who lives locally, and this is the last one, bear with me with, but I thought you know, say, she says, your show is fascinating. I happened upon it one Thursday night flipping channels. At first, my husband and I were thinking, what on earth is this, and what is this guy talking about? It was only a matter of time before Thursdays come around and we find ourselves saying, oh yes, Hidden Meanings is on tonight. It all makes sense to us. It is positively mind-blowing for me to hear things confirmed with facts that I have felt inside and thought for so long, but never understood why I felt this way. It has become so clear and leaves me anxious for more. This website is great and very informative. Thank you, blah. So those are the kinds of things that we're getting, and I'm getting more and more of them, and more positive feedback probably than for the couple years that we've had the website going. And for those of you who haven't seen it, it's hiddenmeanings.com is the website. And right now we're closing in on 368,000 visits to it, you know, which is, you know, very, very encouraging, and I'm excited about it. For the one simple, solitary reason, the ability to share this with people. And the wonderful thing that people can agree with it, disagree, it doesn't make any difference. Look, what I'm speaking about up here, if you want to stay a Catholic and go to the Catholic Church and believe in Mary and the Pope and all that, I'm not here to say, who am I to say you can't? And who am I to, in any way, shape, or form, criticize? But you don't have to change what I'm teaching. You can continue to do that. You can be a Jew and go to the temple and believe in that. You can be a Muslim and go and believe. You do anything. It doesn't matter. You just add to it. You do your meditation privately. And then you go to Mass or you go to the temple or wherever you go. Do it in addition, see. You don't have to change your religion. What you believe is irrelevant. It's none of my business. But what Jesus taught is for everybody, and it doesn't make any, it has nothing to do with religion. It's talking about finding inside of you that place where God actually dwells. And yeah, and you don't have to tell anybody you're doing this. You can go to Mass, you can go to the temple, you can go wherever. Do this in the house. Nobody has to know. See? And so when I see comments like this, you know, it really is exciting to me. And right now, I mean, I had, you know, in Forked River, New Jersey, I had never thought that. We're only 33,000 short of hitting 400,000 and another 133,000, and that can happen very fast. On the internet, we'll be over 500,000. And what is that? What am I talking about? What is this all about? Well, it's really about you. It's about your existence. It's about your life. It's about your contact with invisible beings that religion refers to as spirit or angels. But it will actually electro inform. You can blank that out. That word electro, you see electro in it. Well, of course, electromagnetism. When I say God is electromagnetism, the people would become offended. Why? Because religion has told us, well, God is spirit. Well, no problem. Spirit is electromagnetism. But if you're more comfortable with religious-sounding words as spirit, that's not a problem. It is not a problem. The reason that I like to move away from those kind of words is those kind of words which are religious require faith. See? These kind of words don't. Electromagnetism does not require faith. It can actually be touched. It can be measured. It can be felt. See? When you get that feeling, oh, I get the spirit, what you really are getting is electro energy inside of you. It's all electric. And that's the way, and that's the way things are created. So for me, it's very difficult to discuss spirit or soul because there's no way to touch them. And somebody has to say, well, you just have to have faith. Well, then I can't deal with that. But I know that I'm touching the exact same thing when I talk about electro. And when I talk about electro, I can talk about spirit, soul, and so forth, because that's what it is. And I eliminate the need to have faith because there's, it's proven. It's absolutely proven. Scientifically proven, not religiously proven, scientifically proven. As many times as I repeat that, and I say it a lot of times, I'm still not quite sure that anyone has understood what I'm talking about. And what I'm talking about is that you are an electro person. You are an electro person. And as an electro person, you are capable of operating a body. The one you have, the one I have, the one everybody has. Each person, each electro person is capable of operating a body. Some of them work pretty good. Some of them break down a lot. Some of them don't work too good. It depends. It's like a car. Some you get a lemon. It's the way it is. Your body is capable of nothing unless you operate it. Your brain is capable of nothing unless you input it. In the same way that your car is capable of nothing unless you drive it. Your computer is capable of nothing unless you input it. And when I say that unless you drive it, unless you input it, the you I'm referring to is the electro person. That electro person nested in the body. That's you. You nested in that body that you have like a bird nests in a tree. Now this is the thing, and this is where it really gets, I think, interesting and something you should give some thought to. An electro person cares and loves and desires and plans. A body is material stuff. It doesn't love. It doesn't desire. In fact, the body, when it goes awry, it kills itself, like cancer. When it goes berserk, there's no semblance of order in that it can say, oh, wait a minute, this isn't wrong. It has to be done by an electro person. If the cancer is going and your body is killing itself, then an electro person in the form of a doctor has to come and do something to stop that. So when you have contact with your family, it's not with your body. Your contact is with the electro person who operates their body. You may have a son who is an electro person who operates his body. And your attraction is the electro person you are with the electro person he is. And the same with anybody else in your family. Your love for that person is love to the one that brings peace and love and, you know, difficulties, whatever they may be, into your family. But that is not a body doing that. A body's not capable of doing that. It is the person. It is the electro person. The invisible person that is inside of the body that may be your son or your daughter or your mother or your father or your husband or your wife or whomever it is. The invisible person that operates that body is the one that you love. Your invisible person loves that invisible person. It doesn't make any difference. You've seen parents that have children who are born deformed, and you know, you look at it and say, oh, God, it's pathetically the child, oh, it's terrible. The love they have makes no difference. The physical body, see, because this is invisible to invisible. It's electric to electric. Because the electro person inside of you is loving the electro person inside of a body without any regard to the body itself. See? Your body is totally incapable of creating love. You create love. So it is the electro person that loves and brings peace, or also hates and brings violence. It's not the body, it's the body. It's used to do those things. Let's talk for a second about dying, about death. The only reason that you fear death is not because, you know, you're not sure, so forth. You fear leaving the ones you love. What will they do if anything happened to you? How are they going to get along? And everybody thinks like this. You think about your family members. Gosh, you don't want to die, and you know what's going to happen to them, and they feel they don't want to die, what's going to happen to you, and that's what this whole thing is. It has nothing to do with dying itself. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for instance, you were the only person on the planet. Nobody but you. What would you care? What would be the difference then if you died? I mean, it's like when you go to sleep. Who cares? You know, you lay down, you go to sleep. You get up. If you don't get up, so what? But then there would be no problem because there'd be nobody to leave. Nobody would cry. You know, nobody would be broken. Nobody would be hurt and so forth. And so it doesn't become a problem to you. You would open the right angular gyrus and leave. It's your emotions that cause you not to want to die. You do not want to leave those you love because what would happen if they don't have you? And so it's this electro person that is invisible that loves the other electro persons. In other words, it is a light being loving other light beings, not bodies loving other bodies. Light beings loving other light beings. So you say you don't want to leave those you love. What will happen to them without you? But if they're not there, you leave. Because there's nobody there. So you go back to the home base where they are anyhow. Let's slow that down a little. Let's go back. What do you mean I go back to the home base? Where would an electro person come from? Not a body. You know what bodies come from? Bodies are material. okay? Bodies are material. They can watch on a thing and watch it get made and the whole business. It's very, they know how that's a material thing. But the electro person that operates that body, where does that come from? Okay? And where that comes from, when that need for love no longer is there, it leaves. It opens the gyrus in the brain, and it leaves. See, you're not attracted to whomever because you necessarily want to be with their body. You want to be with them. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. And this is, you can pretty well prove this. How many times have you seen a couple married for many, many, many years? One dies. And shortly thereafter, the other one dies. And in many instances, for no apparent reason. They just die. I had an aunt who died, and her and my uncle had been married for many, many years. And I remember that Joan and I were up one Christmas, and we were talking about this, about death and, you know, the way we believe here. One night at a relative's house, and the uncle was there. Now, he didn't say anything, but you have to accept this as being true. But as we talked to the others, Joan and I both noticed his awareness. His eyes looked like I had never seen him, and I had known this guy for years and years. I mean, a whole different look on his face, and he was just staring into, like, every word we were saying. And his eyes were like telling me that his body didn't know anything, but he did. And so he had to leave his body and reunite with the electro person whom he lived here physically with so long. And he did. He died. Nothing apparent. It was just a few weeks after that. He had to leave, and he left. And it happens all the time. So the body is not the attraction. If you have, let's put the bodies over here, okay? But here, let's just put the electro person. This is what loves, what hates, what cares, what desires, what plans, you know, dreams, what all of the things happen here, say. When it's inside of here, it's acted out. The plans, the dreams, the hopes, the desires, acted out using the body. But the electro person, say. Now, this electro person, in a, well, you know, nowadays with gay and all this stuff, you know, but this electro person, male body here, okay, contacts and marries or gets along with this electro person in a female body. What I'm trying to say to you that after a while, it isn't this body and body. For a period of time, it can be body to body. It's sensual, it's so forth and so on, and that's fun things. But it develops into something that's totally different. It develops in this invisible to invisible. And so, when one of these physical bodies die, and the electro person has to leave, okay, this electro person is now left in body for what? And so it becomes an obvious thing, and what happens in so many instances, not everyone for sure, but what happens in many, many instances is this electro person chooses to leave, and it does. Cars are useless without drivers. Bodies are useless without drivers. And if you want to call it your soul or your spirit, that's fine. But what it really is this electro person that you are. You can't talk. I mean, like, you know, Pinocchio or something, he was just a puppet, you know. and you know, they put some dust or whatever, I forget what the story was, but they brought him to life. Some kind of a person touch got involved in this material thing, and life came. Well, we spend all the time on the physical body and the concern about that. That's what our religions are made of. I mean, you can go to cemeteries. Where my father's buried is a cemetery, and it must be, it looks like it's 20 miles long. It's one big stone. I mean, there was billions of stones. Now, I understand, oh, well, we have to do something in memory. Why? I mean, really think about that. Why? It's important to you in here. You know, what does a stone in the middle of a field mean? But our concentration is so totally on that we will go out there and put flowers and candles and stuff like that, and we give no understanding that this is an electro person, and so are we. And we don't have to be separated from any electro person if we will learn how to operate as an electro person. See? The person did not die. The body died. Let me say it again. The person did not die. The body died. Electro persons cannot die. It's impossible. Even scientists today who have tried to destroy electrophotons find when they destroy the properties, they bounce right back, 3.5 feet away. And so we have missed the whole thing. We have totally lost contact with those other electro persons of our invisible family that we love so dearly, because we have chosen not to follow the Christ, the Krishna, the Buddha. We have chosen to follow these people leaders who have marched us off in groups of denominations and so forth, and had us concentrate on their physical body, even to the point that they talk about going up and living in a mansion on streets of gold and all of this crazy stuff, and never maturely looking at what and how does this really work. There is no reason that we should have lost contact with people who have left their bodies. But we totally were absorbed into turning our backs on the line of communication, which is through meditation, and instead dwelled following all this religious stuff. I mean, I've been into places, and I go into funeral parlors, or I try to encourage people when a body dies to to really open up contact and listen for things and so forth and so on. And those people come and say, well, I told this to so-and-so, and they said, don't get involved with that stuff. Brother, that's exactly what happens. You'll have religions, and Christianity is a prime offender, and they'll tell you, don't get involved in that stuff. Stay away from that stuff. You'll open yourself to devils and demons, and that's a lot of crap. I mean, what else can you say? Because it is depriving love of the love that was assigned to it. So the body, it's like a car. I mean, they break. Physical things break. I mean, lights blow out. I mean, But when that light blows out, what is it? Did the light really blow out? No, the bulb blew out. I have to get a new bulb. What happens when I put a new bulb in? There's the light. It's the same light that was there. That's not a new light. It's just a new bulb. Do you realize that if people started to follow the ancient teachings that were, the Jesus teachings of meditation, and all of this do you realize that people would be able to reunite themselves with this light, with these light beings, with this understanding? Because, I mean, people say, I'm waiting for a light being to come. Ooh, you are a light being with a body. So you can call it soul, you can call it angels, you can call it spirits, but in truth it is this electro person. The electro person is the angel. The electro person is the spirit. The electro person is you. And the very scripture says God is light. And what does that mean? It means God is an electro person. And the Bible said you are made in the image and likeness of God. You've got two situations there. You've got your body, which is made in the image and likeness of your parents. And you've got that which is the electro person. You are true you, the thing that operates this machine, which is made in the image and likeness of God. And what time, does anybody know what time it is? I don't know what time I started or anything. Nobody has a, what is it? I don't know.
It's 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. What time did I start?
About 5:10 a.m.
Okay.
About 10 a.m.
All right. You know what you can do, Kath? As soon as that thing shuts off, let me know. But here's a situation. How could there possibly be, like somebody that I, as an electro person, knows? You see, this is really interesting stuff, because what I'm talking about here is I know somebody, and you say, well, you can't know that somebody unless they have a body. Why? See, the body does nothing but give me what I need in a physical material plane to contact. I'm talking about a person communicating in a non-physical, non-material plane. You do it every night when you have these so-called dreams when you get out of your body and you're mingling with people and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And there's no body there. And yet you're vitally involved with people. And there's no body there. And you're talking to people, you meet people, you do different things, and there's nothing there. It's the same thing. See, so why can't I have an electro person right next to me right now? Well, you do. Just the same way that you are. You are an invisible electro person, and all of you is not inside of this thing. A part of your electro person is inside of this thing attached to all the nerves and so forth and so on. We know. But a lot of the electro person that stores all of your memories and your dreams, real quick test, real quick, here we go, test, 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 test. Here's the test. See your house you lived in when you were a child. Can you see it? Yes, instantly, instantly. I can see it. I can see the front porch. I can see the driveway on the right side, the garage in the back, the whole bit. How could I see it? Where was that stored? In here? Of course not. Sorry. It's stored. It's an electro person. It's like a microcomputer that I am. Okay, so why can't I have an electro person that I know, another electro person, who doesn't at this particular time have a body, is none of less of an electro person than I am, but simply I'm in a body that person isn't. Okay? Same way if I'm in a car, somebody's walking down the street on the sidewalk. No less of a person, but I'm in a car. No less of a person, I'm in a body. Okay? But you might say, well, look, here's the problem with that. Light through the universe travels at 186,400 miles a second. So how's somebody going to stand next to you, you know, with the road runner? How can this light being, stop and attract us? How can this light being sitting next to you get your attention? How can this light being talk with you? Not talk like I'm talking to you, because I'm using a mouth. The mouth is physical. When you talk, like, you know how you talk when you think you're dreaming? You don't use your mouth. Have somebody next time you're sleeping look at you laying there when you're dreaming. And your eyes will be closed, your mouth will be shut. Yet you're talking, and you're seeing, and God knows what else you're doing. And you don't need any of the stuff in order to do it. Okay? Okay. So we got the electro persons talking with us, communicating in electro vibes. putting things into our electro mind that we can then transmit into the computer brain, which we have in our physical head. How is it possible? Because we think of this electro light traveling through space at bizarre speeds. At 160,000 miles a second is bizarre. So how could that be next to us? How can there be a person standing as Electro Person stopped right next to us? Let me show you something brand new, okay? And this is really interesting. Light brought to a halt in scientific first. Research could lead to advances in quantum computers. Thursday, December the 11th. All right, go on to the next one. All right. Associated Press. Physicists say they have brought light to a complete halt for a fraction of a second and then sent it on its way. An achievement someday could help scientists develop powerful new computers. The research differs from work published in 2001 that was hailed at the same time as having brought light to a standstill. In that work, light pulses were technically stored briefly when individual particles were taken up by atoms of gas. I have no idea what they're talking about, and I don't really care. Harvard University researchers have now topped that feat by truly holding light and its energy in its tracks, if only for a few hundred thousandths of a second. We have succeeded in holding a light pulse still without taking all the energy away from it. Mikhail Lukin, Harvard physicist. But what, I don't really, all of this stuff, what's important for us to know? If primitive people, which we are, don't forget, it's the first time we've done this, can stop light, then the non-primitive advanced, okay, the very same light stops, sits right next to you, talks to you. See, what I'm trying to get through to you is starting to learn, when you want to call it spirit or soul or whatever you want to call it, and placing it into this electromagnetic type of inference or definition. You have now proven that an invisible light, and remember the Bible said God is light, invisible light does not have to continually travel 186,000 miles a second. It can stop. Something could come from a distance, and I mean 186,000 miles a second, even that's primitive. I mean, God, it could go 1,000 times more than, who knows. But this light then can stop, can stay with you, can sit with you, can talk with you, can touch you, and it is the light person, the same light person that you are. The same light person that was a family member whose body died. And we've lost all contact. Have you ever thought to yourself, gosh, I love that person so much. What kind of a God would create that you would be with a person and love a person, and then all of a sudden that person is taken? Well, there is no such God like that. And nature isn't even like that. But nature has provided you and me from the very beginning with the ability to make contact, and we have chosen not to do it. Now, there are people today who have others standing right next to them. I know you've seen this guy, John Edwards. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy, John Edwards, on television. Yeah, everybody tries that, he's a phony and all that stuff, and most of these guys are. He's been on too long and been open to too many investigations, and people say, well, now wait a minute, what he does, he uses an old technique. If you keep saying the same thing, sooner or later somebody's going to know it. But here's the point that I would make with you. He's a meditative person. This guy prays the rosary. If he gets his meditation that way, it's wonderful. He's a meditative person. All he then has to do is have himself open, all right, And then when he comes into a studio audience, there are people there who have had others, light beings, who have left their bodies. Those light beings who have left their bodies then come to this particular point and surround this guy. And he starts getting bombarded with stuff. And I'm hearing this, and I'm getting confused at this, and all this kind of business because, you know, he's still betrayed. But you say, well, you know, that may be. Look, it is so difficult for us to understand the real, true way of nature because we have sacrificed ourselves to the untrue way of religious organizations who have taken us as points of control and points of income. Say. But that's not the way it was supposed to be. So yes, the angel or the electro person can stand right next to you, and yes, you can sense it. You can feel it. And I don't mean where you're going to church and somebody, you know, they got these beautiful music playing, oh, I can feel the presence of the Lord. Yeah, come on. I mean, you know, you can do that in a rock concert they're all going on. I mean, there is physical emotionalism. I'm talking about being alone and being in the quiet, and you can feel and you can hear, not with your ears, but you can sense what is not physical. So we can put to rest whether real people who are electro in nature, who dwell on what we call the other side, which is actually right here, and who can stop and communicate. Now, if you haven't heard from anybody, it's because you have chosen not to follow the instructions of Jesus Christ, which are quite clear. And I'm just going to give you these, and that'll be it, and we'll wrap it up. This is what he said. Matthew 6:22, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, pineal gland of the brain, your whole body shall be full of light. How could that possibly be? If there is a light being next to you, and if you activate the pineal gland of the brain in meditation, what that is saying is your body shall fill with the impulse from that light being who is with you. Now, if that light being is God, that's not for me to say. Angel, you call it whatever you want. I'm calling you a light being. If your eye be single, I hear all the stuff about, oh, you know, are you saved? You know, but as soon as somebody says, oh, you don't believe Jesus died for you, I said, that's not what I'm here to say. I'm here to say, do you obey Jesus? Do you do what he said? And what he says is you must practice the single eye for your body to fill with light. And I said, do you do that? And they walk away. Because this places the whole of nature, the whole of God, the whole of what we call spirit inside of you. I think we must have run past the time. Nobody knows.
Just about right.
Yeah. Did that go off yet, Kat? It didn't?
I didn't hear anything.
All right, give me, what time have you got?
10 after, 11 after.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to say goodnight anyhow, Gracie. And we'll take our chances. Well, see, the thing is now they play the show for an hour. So I try to get it running for an hour. And hopefully I've got here. Next time, I ran out of the house. I was so anxious. I forgot my watch. So next time we'll have to. You might just want to, you leave. You might just want to think about these things and look at the chaos and forget about whose fault it is or who's responsible. But just look at that side is so violent. This side is so quiet and filled with peace. But you,
Question, Bill.
yes.
Can't light be controlled, or how is it controlled?
Well,
There's so many different people.
that's what they were. that's what they are saying. If you have a light being, okay, and now you have a body, and this body is set up genetically in a particular way for whatever reason, that it may be defective. The brain may be defective. It may be short, whatever. And so this light being is going to enter this body, is not then, as soon as it enters the body, any longer going to be in that pure state. That's what original sin's all about. Once that light being enters this body, it's going to be enamored with all of these difficult things. Chromosomes, defective genetic material. And then on top of that, it's now going to be set upon by other light beings in other bodies who are going to teach it things. Schools, churches, governments, jobs, all kinds of stuff, parents. So before too long, this light being in here has been firmly rooted into the body, and this light being now, just as you put it, is totally controlled. Every light being in a body is totally controlled. That is the very key to everything that's in the Bible. Who is willing to cut the cord with those that are controlling? Who is willing to cut that umbilical cord and move back to the control of the invisible as opposed to the control of the visible? I mean, are we willing to say, okay, I'm going to shut down all of this, the government, the church, the school, the religion, everything, and I'm going to come over here and I am going to open myself in absolute nothingness to this. I am going to let this put into this whatever it wants, okay? And then let the change take place. Because I am totally disenchanted with this, I don't want any part of that. Now that's a choice we make. So light is absolutely controlled inside of bodies. And it is up to that particular light being to choose whether it will break its connection and return itself back to that which is the higher light. Is that what you mean?
Yes or no? I still would solve
What?
the problem.
No, then, well, go ahead. Then let's solve the problem. What else?
Light must control light.
Light must...
How about the light that's in our body at the third month?
Okay.
The body that leaves when we're 80, 90 years old, what leaves? The same light, or is it completely different?
Completely different. Completely different. Because the light that's leaving is the light that now has taken into itself all of the experiences, all of the new desires, all of the plans, all of the hates, all of the love. That light is not just a neutral light. It's now a light that has been totally impacted by an experience. Don't forget, it's what I'm saying. Nothing goes into the body. The light leaves the body stays the same. The body, you know, they bury it or throw it in a junkyard or whatever. Everything is in that light. So that light is gone out of the body. That's exactly the situation I'm talking about. You get a guy, I can't even think of their names, the guy that, you know, blew up the building or kills all these people. They're little people. The light comes into a baby. It doesn't do that. But it gets to a certain point, and the next thing you know, it's going around killing people. What happened? What happened to that?
Light.
What is it?
Light controls light. Somehow or other.
Light does, because light inside of here is controlled by light in other bodies, in addition to the fact of having deep. If you get yourself into a car and your car is running on, it's a 6-cylinder car, and one of the cylinders is not working right, your car is not going to work as good as my car on 8 cylinders that's working right. And the point that I'm trying to make with you is the fact that you enter into a body, and if there's something wrong with that body, that light right away has got a problem. And that light inside of that body can be controlled by other. Everybody in the world, Saddam Hussein is a light being, George Bush is a light being, you're a light being, I'm a light being, everybody's a light being, and we control each other. Light beings are controlling. Now you reach a point where you as a light being would have to say, I don't want anybody controlling me. I don't want other light beings controlling me. I want to turn back to the parent light. I want to turn back to the mothership, if you would. See? And that's exactly where this tremendous change comes. It cannot come if we stay, because if we stay attached to what we call the family and the church and the religion and the government and all this stuff, then all we have to look for is death, dying. I mean, there's nothing going to happen other than just dying. But if we choose to shut all of this down and go the route of the meditation and reintroduce ourselves and reconnect ourselves back, now we're touched by a totally higher light. So light does control life. It is not life that controls light, and light controls light. But it is, I mean, there has to be light inside of the body in order for there to be life. If the light went out of everything, every body in the world, all that be on the planet is dead bodies and wind. Nothing. It's just